We are in middle of Torah Yud Chet in the Likutei Moharan, and we are close to part 5. We're in the middle of part 4. And this Torah Yud Chet is called Kartalita, which means the treasure chest. It's because of this story where they were traveling by sea, and they saw this treasure chest in the sea. And there was a diver that went down to get the treasure chest, and that it was surrounded by these birsha fish. And when he tried to get the treasure chest to take it, the birsha fish started cutting off his leg, or it seemed like they were trying to sever his leg. And then there was what he did was he threw this vinegar, and the vinegar caused the fish to run away. But then there was a bat kol, a heavenly voice that came out and said, "What do you want with this treasure chest of the wife of Rabbi Hanina ben Dosa? That she's going to use it in the world to come. She's going to store the Techeilet of the tzitzit, of the tzaddikim. In the world to come, she's going to store it in this treasure chest." And Rabbi Nachman, up until now, already explained to us the beginning points of this story. Rabbi Nachman is explaining to us in this Torah the formula of basically how can we live our life in alignment with the final purpose of why Hashem created the universe. And that final purpose is not something that is clear, that everyone in this world knows clearly. In fact, it's extremely rare for someone in this world of concealment, in this world of darkness, in this physical world that is so almost separate or seems separate and different from the spiritual world, that for someone living in this world to recognize the purpose of all purposes, the final tachlit, the reason, the main, the goal, the center of all of existence, of the whole universe, to recognize it and to know the path to get there is tremendously rare, and something that is very hard to know. How could you find someone that will lead you to that path, to lead you through that path? So what is that final purpose? Rabbi Nachman says, Shashua Olam Haba. It's the pleasure for all of eternity that we will experience in the world to come, that direct experience of Hashem. Hashem is infinite and Hashem is eternal, and so there's always greater and deeper levels of pleasure that can be experienced from greater and deeper levels of revelation of Hashem's infinite oneness, Hashem's infinite light. And that goes on for all of eternity. And that's the tachlit, that's the purpose of everything, is to get us, to prepare us for that. To prepare us for that. As the Ramchal says, the tachlit atov zed heitiv. That the purpose, the greatest fulfillment of good, the essence of good, is to be able to contribute that good to others. And so Hashem, who is the infinite good, the greatest fulfillment, so to speak, right? By Hashem, koviyachol, by Hashem, the greatest fulfillment that Hashem feels is to be able to contribute from himself to others, so that others may experience his infinite good. And so that's what this whole universe is in order to prepare us for that. And every day, and every thought, and every action, and every word, and every movement, every moment, we have an opportunity to choose to prepare ourselves, to rectify ourselves, and to prepare ourselves in greater ways, with another thought, another action, another word, another intention, in the right way. These are all preparing us, and then we will be able to experience that pleasure, that direct experience of Hashem, that infinite light, in greater, deeper ways, in more pleasurable ways for all of eternity. But to recognize this, to know that this is the purpose, and to know how to get to that purpose, to know how to guide others and to lead others to get to that purpose, is something that's extremely rare. And only the Mashiach souls of the generation, can lead us there. The Mashiach souls of the generation, we explain, are also called Moshe's souls, and they're also called David's souls, because David is the king, and this is the aspect of Malchut and leadership and guiding the nation, guiding the generation to that purpose, to the fulfillment of that ultimate purpose. But what do we do if those leaders don't want to lead us, if they don't want to guide us? What are we supposed to do? So first, we must understand, why is it that many times it happens that those leaders, those holy souls, are not wanting to guide us, to lead us? They're actually fleeing any positions of authority. And that happens, says Rabbi Nachman, from something called Hester Panim, when Hashem has concealed his guidance from us. That direct experience of Hashem has been concealed from us. And that Hester Panim, that experience, that concealment, comes from a lack of Emunah. When we are lacking in our belief and trust in Hashem, and that's called idol worship, on some level it's called idol worship, then there is a wrath of Hashem, the anger of Hashem that is expressed and revealed in the world. And that anger, what does it mean, the anger of Hashem? The anger of Hashem means the concealment of Hashem's direct and clear guidance, of the Hashgacha Pratit, that Hashem is constantly with us and everything that happens is from Hashem. Okay, and yesterday we spoke a little bit in more detail. What does that mean, that belief and that belief system of Hashgacha Pratit, that everything is from Hashem? And the more that we enforce that belief system and we come back to it, that will dissolve the anger energy, what's called the anger of Hashem, and that concealment will be removed. But when there is that concealment perpetuated in the world through the idol worship and the corrupted belief systems and the lack of Emunah in Hashem, then not only is Hashem concealing his direct guidance, and we don't know where to turn to, we don't feel Hashem that is with us, even though he is constantly with us, but we don't feel it, we don't experience it. But what happens also is that those souls that are an extension of that guidance of Hashem, those souls that are part of that Malchut of Hashem, the leadership of Hashem, and they're part of it because they've dissolved their ego and they've dissolved the illusion of separateness. We spoke about how that's humility, and therefore they're an extension of that. They're included in that energy of Malchut, and they also will naturally be compelled to flee from positions of authority. They will naturally, maybe they won't know that it's because of the anger of Hashem, the wrath of Hashem, but they may say that it's because they're not worthy of it. But whatever the reason is that they're saying, the reason at the core is because of the Hester Panim, the concealment of Hashem. And so we have to sweeten that. And how do we sweeten that? So when there is anger, anger just means that there's something that was done that should not have been done. Whenever you have that should, could, would, or had to, something that needed to be done in a different way. When you have that language, internally, externally, it's being heard, it's in a conversation, it's in the thoughts, then that's the energy of judgment. Judgment energy is about, this is the way that things should be. And if they're not in this way, then they are wrong. That's what judgment energy is all about. And when someone gets angry, it comes from that energy. This person should not have acted that way to me. He shouldn't have said that. He shouldn't have done that. I was wronged. Okay? And that is anger energy. Now, what's compassion energy? Compassion energy is coming from a deeper place. It's when we look beyond what should or should not have been done, and we sense with our heart what are the feelings and the needs behind those behaviors. This person acted in a way that maybe he should not have acted. But instead of focusing on what he should not have done, I'm focusing on what are the feelings that led to that behavior, and what were the needs of his that were behind those feelings, that were being met or not being met. Because of that, he was feeling in a certain way, and because of that, he acted or reacted and behaved in a certain way. And when I sense that feeling and that need with my heart, then I can open up with compassion because I understand with my heart. And then that dissolves the anger energy. And that's the sweetening of the judgment. That's the sweetening of the din. And so maybe here, the leaders of the generation, the souls that are the most worthy of being the leaders of the generation, maybe they're in this judgment energy, the Hester Panim, the anger of Hashem, that causes them to say they should not be leading the generation. They're not worthy of it. And that's the judgment energy, which is spoke about. Should not be. It's not right for them to be leading the generation. And then when you use your compassionate energy and you sweeten on your personal level, in your own personal world, the anger energy with the compassion energy, and you go beyond what should or should not be done to what are the feelings and the needs behind that, connecting with your heart, you will cause a domino effect. You cause that effect to happen throughout the world, and those souls that were destined, they're worthy of being the leaders. Now, even though they are naturally, their instinct is telling them no, they're not worthy, they do not want to be leading the generation, but the compassion overpowers, and they're starting to feel that compassion for the generation, and that crown of compassion is put on their head, and that crown of compassion is the leadership that is given to them against their will even. Okay, it's coming from a deeper place, and now they have to lead the generation. And so that's where Rabbi Nachman is explaining to us in this Torah how we can affect those holy, humble souls to receive that crown of leadership, even if it's against their will. And that's coming from the place of compassion that sweetens the judgment energy, the anger energy. And then Rabbi Nachman started explaining to us how the story is kind of like representing these aspects. The story that we spoke about, the treasure chest, the chest that had diamonds and gems within it, encrusted within the chest, within this box. Rabbi Nachman said that the box itself is argaz. Argaz sounds like the word rogez in Hebrew, which means anger. And the gems are the aspect of compassion, that you're sweetening the anger energy with compassion. And it's surrounded by birsha. What does it mean it's surrounded by birsha? So Rabbi Nachman started explaining it, but then he went back to explaining to us the formula of the Torah in order to understand the next part of the story. He started telling us that birsha is like baruch, which is the type of tree that the Medrash says is referring to Mordechai. Mordechai is called Mordechai HaYehudi, as the Gemara says, because he is the power that cancels out idol worship. And so he is the aspect of Emunah, complete Emunah in Hashem. Tachat ha'na'atzutz ya'aleh berosh. In place of the thorn, the cypress tree will grow. And that is referring to Mordechai, the Gemara says in Megillah. The pasuk is in Yeshaya. And so Mordechai, so this birsha, the birsha fish are the aspect of Emunah. They're the aspect of Emunah. Like Mordechai is the aspect of Emunah. It's the Emunah in Hashem, which cancels out the belief and trust in anything else, in any other entity, in any other power, in any other force. And then Rabbi Nachman explained to us this part of the story about these fish, the birsha fish, which is the Emunah that surrounds the treasure chest. What does the treasure chest represent? Really, the treasure chest represents the leadership, the malchut, the crown of compassion that is giving leadership, the power to lead is being given to those holy, humble souls. That's the compassion, the crown of compassion. Those are the gems in the treasure chest. And so surrounding that, there is the birsha, there is the emunah that's protecting this leadership. And that's why Rabbi Nachman explained to us in this part, in part 4 of this Torah, how he explained to us, first of all, in part 3, he explained to us that sometimes a person thinks that he has the compassion, and it's from that compassion that he wants to lead the people, but he wants to lead the generation from his compassion, but he's fooling himself. And it's not really the crown of compassion, it's really his ego that wants that leadership. And why would it be that he's fooling himself? Rabbi Nachman says that unless a person has absolutely 100% clear and pure belief and trust in Hashem and nothing else, to the exclusion of anything else, then the person still has that ego, and the leadership that he is desiring is coming from his ego. That desire for leadership, for leading others, for malchut, is coming from his ego. And so that's called darchei emori. Those superstitions are called darchei emori. Any belief in anything else, even if he believes in Hashem as well, but he believes in something else as something else on the side, then it can affect, it can make things better, it can make things worse. That other belief, that superstition, it causes and makes that this person is unfit for malchut. He's undeserving to lead the nation. And so what's going to happen is, Rabbi Nachman says that if he takes the malchut, if he tries to force himself into a place of a position of authority to lead others, then that's called malchut hafich leminut. Okay, that means that he has turned himself into a heretic, because now the malchut is being used as a crown on his own head instead of being the crown of Hashem. Okay, and so that is exactly what idol worship is. That's what heresy is all about. It's about calling a certain force, a certain entity, a certain being, a certain part of the world, calling it God, attributing the power of creation to that thing, attributing leadership, power to anything but Hashem, is called avodah zarah, idol worship. Okay, and so that's what he has done to himself. He's turned himself into a heretic, which is because he's denying the absolute sovereignty of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which is what Emunah is all about. And Rabbi Nachman says that there's a special protection that Hashem put into place so that this will not be successful. What's the protection? Rabbi Nachman explained to us how leadership in Malchut is always, to the extent that it's successful, it's rooted in Chokhmah. Okay, leading others, being a king, and guiding others must be, that ability, that aspect, that power is rooted in the wisdom and intelligence. And that's why the king always is only as powerful as his healthy relationship, as how healthy his relationship is with his wise men and advisors. As soon as Rabbi Nachman says, as soon as his relationship with them is gone bad, and he's angry with them, or he hates them, or he despises them, or he lacks appreciation for them, then that's a sign that his rule, his kingdom will fall. Okay, will fall apart. Because Malchut is rooted, the health of the Malchut, the energy of the Malchut is rooted in with the wisdom, with the holy wisdom, with the Chokhmah. And that's what establishes it. And we said that that's what the Zohar says, Abba Yas and Brata, the father establishes the daughter, the father is a Chokhmah, which empowers and establishes and builds up the daughter, the Malchut, the leadership, the kingship. And Rabbi Nachman said that, okay, and so that's where we're up to. Rabbi Nachman brought us different psukim from the Torah and from Mishlei also, how the Malchut, the leadership, is founded and rooted in the wisdom, in the Chachma. And so this is what we're up to here. Nimtza ze she'en lo emunah b'shleimut mechamat darchei ha'emori, כשבא לקח לעצמו המלכות וההנהגה, והוא אין ראוי לה, אזי האמונה שסביב ההנהגה, מחזיק בהנהגה, שלא ייגע בזר, הוא מפיל לאיש זה לשנאת חכמים, ידע שלא יתקיים בידו המלכות והמנהיגות, בוודאי לא יתקיים בידו, כי עיקר המלכות תלוי במשפט כנען. Rabbi Nachman brought us a pasuk class yesterday, we spoke about yesterday, that melech b'mishpat ya'amid aretz, pasuk in Mishlei, that the king with mishpat, and we said mishpat is chokhmah. Rabbi Nachman brought us proof. Ve'emit mishpatai tigal nafshechem, mishpatai tigal nafshechem, if you will despise my laws. And over here, the mishpat is referring to the chachamim, as Rashi says over there. And so mishpat can also mean the wise, the wisdom, the chokhmah, the wise men. And so Rabbi Nachman says here that we know that the foundation of the Malchut is the Mishpat. It's the wisdom, it's the wise men, it's the Chachamim. And so what there is a special protection for the crown of Malchut, that anyone that is undeserving and unfitting of being a leader, of being a king, of leading the generation. Okay, why is he unfitting? Because, as we said, he has superstitions. He has other beliefs aside from belief and trust in Hashem. And even though he may have compassion, but the desire that he has to lead is coming from his ego, because he's unworthy of that leadership, and he's unfit for that leadership because of his superstitions that are mixed into his emunah. His emunah is not completely pure. It's not complete in only HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in only exclusively in Hashem. And so what happens is there is this emunah protection. Rabbi Nachman says that the emunah itself protects the malchut, that anyone who doesn't have completely pure, absolutely perfect emunah in Hashem, that wants to grab the crown of leadership and put it on his head, that emunah that is protecting that crown will cause this person to fall into hatred towards the chachamim. The emunah that is protecting the crown of leadership will cause a person that is unworthy of the leadership to despise the wisdom, the chachma, and to lack appreciation, to lose appreciation for the wisdom, for the chachma. And because he has, this will cause him to fall from the appreciation and from the healthy relationship with the chachma, with the chachamim. So now, even if he takes the crown, it's only temporary. Okay, he won't be able to lead anyone without chachma. The power of leadership is only as much as it's rooted in chachma. And because the emunah has caused this person that is unworthy of the leadership to despise the chachma, to lack appreciation for the wise man, for the advisors of the king, right? The wisdom of Hashem, the tzaddikim, the Talmidei Chachamim, he despises them, he lacks appreciation for them. Therefore, even if he does try to take that crown and put it on his head, it's like a toy crown. It's like the crown of kids. The kids, they put on their head, for their birthday or whatever, a paper crown. That's the significance of it. It has no power whatsoever. There's no power in that leadership. It's temporary. Now, it's important to point out before we go further, this idea of this emunah, that is the protecting the crown of malchut. How is that possible? We've explained in the past that emunah is synonymous with malchut. So what does that mean? Does that mean that the malchut is protecting herself from anyone that is unworthy of it? So let's explain a little bit deeper what is emunah and what's the distinction between emunah and malchut. Emunah is malchut, but there's a specific aspect of malchut that is called emunah. What is that? There's a Torah we spoke about, we learned this previously in the Likutei Moharan also, where there's a Zohar. Rabbi Nachman brings a Zohar that says, that the Malchut is called Emunah when she is combined and unified with Emet. I think it's in the Torah of Teomoti Chasimo, or Ve'ela Mishpatim. It could be Ve'ela Mishpatim, where Rabbi Nachman says, he brings the Zohar, Kadid Chabar ba Emet it Kiryat Emunah. When she is combined with Emet, when the Malchut, which is called Tzedek usually, when she is sweetened, how is she sweetened? When she is connected in a deeper place to the Tiferet. Tiferet is called the Kuchabrichu, which is the Vav of Yud Kivavke. And it represents the attribute, the characteristic of Emet. Titen Emet liYaakov, right? Yaakov is Emet. Yaakov is Tiferet. Yaakov is the Vav of Yud Kivavke. Okay, Yaakov represents the aspect of Kuchabrichu. And that's the aspect of Emet. Titen Emet liYaakov. And when the Malchut is sweetened, she's unified and combined with the Tiferet, then she is called Emunah. And so Emunah is really the state of perfection of Malchut. It's kind of like the Malchut, the inner aspect of Malchut, in her state of perfection, when she is combined and unified with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, with the Emet, she's called Emunah. And that is what is protecting the crown, that it shouldn't be pulled away and taken into exile. Okay? The Emunah, the state of perfection of the Malchut, which is unified with Emet, unified with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's part of Hashem. The leadership is part of Hashem. That aspect of perfection of leadership, the leadership which is part of Hashem, protects any other power of rule and power to lead, power of being a king. It protects it from falling into the wrong hands. How? If anyone who is unfit, anyone who is unworthy of leading, of being a king, tries to grab that crown, this Emunah will come and will cause them to fall into a disconnect from Chokhmah, a bad relationship with Chokhmah, a lack of appreciation of Chokhmah, despising the Chokhmah, being disgusted with the Chachamim. And because of that, even if they take the crown, and the crown that they have in their hands is a paper crown, it doesn't have any power to it. That's what Rabbi Nachman says here. And then he continues and he says, אלא אם כן זה המחזיק במלכות מתגבר באפיקורסות מינות עד שמפריד את האמונה מההנהגה מבחינת המלכות מלהחזיק במלכות, אזי יכול להיות שיתקיים המלכות בידו, כי אין מי שיפיל אותו לשנאת חכמים, כי האמונה נפרדה מהמלכות. So says Rabbi Nachman, but unfortunately, there is some way that they can, even though there is the Emunah protecting the crown of Hashem, there is a way that they can steal the crown away and still be able to lead others, okay? They can still steal the power of leadership, the power to be a king and to rule, even though the Emunah is protecting it. How can they do that? If they absolutely uproot the Emunah. What does that mean? If they increase, they strengthen and increase, tremendously increase the heresy, the atheism, the corrupt belief systems of idol worship in the world, or even more so, when they do it within Am Yisrael, they spread these corrupt belief systems within Am Yisrael. And we had this in many stories of the kings that were improper kings of Am Yisrael throughout history. In Nevi'im, we have a bunch of kings that caused the whole generation. They were causing them to sin with idol worship. They were forcing them to serve idols, right? That is exactly the way that they were able to grab that crown of leadership, the crown of the king, even though they were inappropriate, they were unworthy of it. Because when they sever the Emunah from the Malchut, the Emunah is protecting the Malchut, the Emunah is protecting the crown of the king. But when they separate the Emunah from the leadership by absolutely uprooting the Emunah in Hashem and perpetuating the opposite belief systems, the corrupt belief systems of idol worship, atheism, heresy, and all that, then now the crown of Hashem, the crown of leadership, is no longer protected by Emunah. And so that's how they're able to steal it and take it, and they take the authority and they take the dominion over the generation against their will, and even though they are unworthy of it. And that's what now Rabbi Nachman explains based on this, the next part of the story. He says, "V'zeu nechet bar amorai la'atoye u'bayed nishmete la'atme." Sorry. What was this part of the story? There was a diver that went down to get the treasure chest, and the birsha fish wanted to sever his thigh, remove his leg. Okay, so Bar Amorai, Rabbi Nachman is going to say, is referring to someone who has fallen to superstitious beliefs. How do you see that? Bar Amorai sounds like Amorai, it sounds like Emori, Darche Emori that we spoke about, the superstitions. And because of that, he's unworthy of the treasure chest, the crown of leadership. And so the birsha fish are going to try to sever his leg, his thigh, and they're trying to keep him away from the treasure chest, from the crown of leadership. Baruch Morai says Rabbi Nachman, someone that is lacking in complete emunah because he has this darche emori, the superstitions, and they wanted to cut off his leg. Okay, that's the literal translation of atmei. It's his leg, his thigh. But Rabbi Nachman explains it differently. Atmei ze bechinat otem ozno mishmua damim delo shama beziluta de'tzuba midrabanan. Hainu bir shahana ratza le'hapir oto lesinat chachamim. So says Rabbi Nachman, he brings a pasuk in Yeshaya. The pasuk in Yeshaya is speaking about someone that blocks his ear from listening to words, bloody words of blood. Okay. So what is that referring to? The Gemara says it's referring to someone that is not listening to the insults that the Chachamim are being insulted and denigrated and made fun of. So this means here that this person has fallen to a hatred towards the Chachamim, because this person is otem ozno mishmua damim. He's not listening. He is not listening to the insult that the Chachamim are being insulted, and he doesn't want to stop that from happening. Okay, so he is not stopping that from happening. He's allowing himself to hear these words of damim. Why are they words called bloody words? Damim, words of blood. So first of all, we know that the Gemara says that when a person is made fun of, insulted, so then the blood drains from a person's face and it's filled with white, pale, like a person that is killed. The Gemara compares it to someone who is killed. When someone is insulted and denigrated and put down, then it is as if that person was killed. And so here, that's why it's called words of blood. And so this person has not blocked his ears from that. He is okay with hearing that. He's okay with the Chachamim being insulted. Why is that? Because he has fallen into sinat Chachamim. He has fallen into a hatred of the Chachamim, disgust to Chachamim. And so when people are making fun of the Chachamim, it's all okay for him. He's fine with that. And so that's the atmei. Atmei is the blocking of the ears from hearing the insults of the Chachamim. He doesn't care for that he doesn't care for that not to happen. And so that's what these fish, the protection, the fish which represent the Emunah, has caused him to fall into that, the hatred to the Chachamim. Was rak zika dechala unechat. But what did he do? He was able to still steal the crown away. He stole the crown away, and he was able to lead the generation, to lead others, to take that power of dominating others against the will of the Emunah. How? By throwing vinegar. He threw a flask of vinegar, and the fish of Emunah fled away. What does that mean? What does that represent? So Rabbi Nachman explains this. He brings this pasuk in Tehillim of David HaMelech. The pasuk says, "Ki itchametz levavi." When my heart was soured, okay, my heart felt sour. What is it referring to? That pasuk in Tehillim is referring to David HaMelech is expressing how he felt when he saw the tremendous power and success of the evil people in the world. When David HaMelech, when he saw the tremendous power and lifting up and elevation of all of these evil, terrible people in the world to positions of power, his heart felt sour. And sour, the word chametz, chometz. Chometz in Hebrew means vinegar. Okay, that's the sourness of the vinegar. And so that's what David HaMelech felt in his heart when he saw this tremendous success of the evil people in the world. And so, how does that happen? David HaMelech is referring to not just the evil people, he's referring to the people that were heretics, the people that are atheists, the people that live their life constantly denying the existence of Hashem, and yet they're still so successful and so powerful. That's what David HaMelech is referring to, and that's the experience that he had in reaction to that, was that his heart was felt so sour, like vinegar. And so that's what Rabbi Nachman is saying here, that this Baruch Murai, this person that had all these superstitions, he increased atheism and corrupt belief systems so powerfully, and that's expressed in the story as the vinegar. He threw the vinegar against the Emunah. The vinegar is the minut, the heresy, the atheism, the inappropriate, the corrupted belief systems. He threw those belief systems that are the opposite of Emunah and Hashem, and they represent the vinegar. He threw them at the Emunah, and that caused the Emunah fish to disperse, and through that unchet. In this way, he was able because the birsha to flee away, to disperse. And that concludes part 4 of this Torah, and Bezrat Hashem will see the continuation in part 5 next year.